Hey everybody, DeLongshot Signatures here. This is episode 91 of my 2023 TTM returns. I have 5 successes to share with you all today. Another slow week as far as TTMs go. Still been getting stuff sent out. Nothing came back, of course, Tuesday with 4th of July holiday. Nothing back Wednesday, nothing back Thursday. 1 yesterday, and then 4 today. So we'll start with the one from yesterday. This is a 1 of 2 success coming back in 60 days from former MLB general manager and interim manager John Hart. So Hart was the GM of the Cleveland Indians and the Texas Rangers. He had a bunch of success with the Indians, now the Guardians, of course, taking them to 2 World Series, winning the pennants with them. Had an 870 and 681 record during his time there. Won a bunch of division titles, and I think was voted twice as the Executive of the Year by Sporting News. After he left Cleveland, he took over for some time with the Rangers. Didn't have as much success there, and has since mainly been involved in an advisory role. But I don't think he's still in the in Major League Baseball anymore. I could be wrong about that. But he did fill in as the field manager for the last 18, 19 games after they had gotten rid of one of their managers. So he had a few wins added to his career. Only signed 1, but that's okay. He's a pretty spotty signer as it is, so just to get anything back from him is pretty cool. Then we got in the 4 successes today. First one here is the first NWSL soccer return that I've gotten. Got back 2 of 2 in 27 days from soccer player Paige Monahan of Racing Louisville Football Club. She signed both of these photos. She was a second-round pick in either 2018 or 2019. I don't remember. And she has scored a few goals. I think 10 or 11 for the in the NWSL. I've sent out to quite a few players. It seems like that's been a really good league for fan mail, and a lot of different players from different teams are signing, even some former ones and coaches. So I've got a whole bunch that have been sent out, and I've still got some more that I can send out here soon. Hopefully learn a little bit more about the league itself. I think it's been around for about 10 years or so, but saw a lot of other people getting them back, so figured I'd try myself, and this is the first one. Then we have a former NFL coach. This is a 3 of 2 success coming back in 9 days from longtime assistant coach, offensive coordinator, and one-time NFL head coach Al Saunders. So he, like I said, was an offensive coordinator for quite a long time. I think 12 different seasons in the NFL, serving that role. Oftentimes assistant head coach or associate head coach. Worked a lot with receivers. And then he was the head coach for the San Diego Chargers for 3 seasons. So he signed both of those photos, and he also included this little greeting card and wrote a note there saying, "Thank you for your kind words. Appreciate you following my career and being a true fan of NFL football. Best wishes always, Al Saunders." I before went through the lists of different teams and their head coaching histories, and I somehow skipped over Al Saunders, but found his name and looked him up and was able to find an address for him. I don't recall seeing anyone else get him back, but the address on Star Tiger that's been there for a minute is good. So really cool to get that back. And I was also just recently watching the Hard Knocks football season on HBO that they had with the Cleveland Browns. So Al Saunders was a part of that team, so he was in a few of the scenes from the show. But really, really cool to add another former NFL head coach to the collection. Then we have a pretty nice baseball return here. This is a 1 of 1 return in 29 days. Did charge a $20 fee, but this is coming back from former pitcher MVP, 3-time All-Star, World Series winner, and 2-time Cy Young Award winner, Denny McLain. So Denny was a fantastic pitcher for the Tigers, and over like a 4-year stretch, he had some of the best numbers in Major League Baseball as a starter. I think over those 4 years, he threw like 800 strikeouts and a whole bunch of wins. There was some note I saw on one of his pages when I was doing research that he is the only living pitcher to have 30 wins in a season. I don't know if that was, I don't know how true that is, or if, that number has since changed. Maybe there's like someone more recently, but knowing how few games pitchers start anymore in a season, that could very well be true. But a fantastic pitcher for a while there. But the rest of his career kind of underwhelmed in terms of like potentially getting him into the Hall of Fame. So he has the credentials and the awards to do it, but his stats comparatively to like a lot of the other greats just really aren't there, because his peak was so good, but everything else around it was sure probably some injury issues, and he just wasn't in Major League Baseball for a super long time. But he won't get on the modern ballot. I know that much for sure. His name has already fallen off that. But he could still potentially become a Hall of Famer in the long run on one of the veteran committees, or, one of those that do the voting for players that hopefully don't get forgotten. But pretty cool to get that one back. That was via a P.O. box in Michigan. Okay, so the last success here is a strange one. I've never had anything like this before, but it's also because I've been doing a little bit less research on people that I send to. I'm more so just trying to find names and then just very quickly get a whole list of people to send out to, get photos, and send them out. So I wrote to a former NASCAR driver, and a fellow autograph collector on Instagram informed me after looking through my spreadsheets, because they were trying to look for some ideas on where to send to, that this individual was in jail, in prison. He is a convicted sex offender, the former NASCAR driver. So I was not aware of that when I sent. So the only reason I sent to him was because someone on Star Tiger had gotten a return and said, they had gotten a bunch of stuff back. So I was like, okay, well, maybe someone's like bringing the mail to him, or maybe he's on house arrest or something for, I don't know exactly what was going on. So it turns out that this is actually the address of his uncle, and his uncle is taking care of the requests. But it's very strange, because some of these autographs might be real and other ones are definitely printed. So I'm going to need a little bit of help and opinion on this, but I believe, based off of what I've looked at, I think there's 11 legitimate autographs from 4 different people. So this was a request out to Rick Crawford, former NASCAR Truck Series driver. Got 11 autographs in 26 days. So the first photo we have here is a printout of a car that I guess they used to run or something like that. And you can tell that this is, kind of an older, person doing this, including all the stuff at the bottom and, page 1 of 1 printing and all that. It does show 2014 as either the print date or whenever this article was made and whatnot. But it is signed by 3 people on here. So Buddy Bielansky is the address, or the addressee who I wrote to. That is the uncle of Rick Crawford. He is a former short track driver, dirt track driver, midget driver, all that stuff. So he signed a number of these items, which is cool. And then there's 2 signatures over here. And at first glance, I thought it was signed twice by the same person. But as we'll hopefully see later, this top one would be Rick Crawford's signature. And this bottom one is Adam Crawford, who is his son, and he would be like the great nephew of Buddy. So I'm pretty sure this blue one's real, because there's several other signatures like it in these items. And the pen does reflect a little bit, But this is like a real stocky printer paper and everything, so the surface isn't the greatest for getting reflection. But if I can get some light on these, this does look like it's hand signed, the other two signatures. So I'm guessing these are pieces from his own personal collection and that he just went ahead and signed it as well. And there's another note that I'll show you guys. Let me find that real quick. So he included this Mobile International Speedway business card of Rick Crawford because he used to run the track. And on the back, with a Buddy Bielansky autograph, Rick's uncle, if you have internet and know someone else, please let them write to me and I will send them pictures also. So that's the address I sent to right there along the bottom. So that's his address. Maybe Rick lived with him at some point. I don't know. But I guess he's still offering to send some signed photos because I sent 2 of my own. Those I'll show at the end. But those ended up not getting signed. But he included a bunch of extra stuff. So here's one of Buddy. So he signed there on the left. And then over here on the right, he wrote Buddy's tow truck. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get a good angle of it. But you can see that it's got some pen press to it and that he actually tried to sign with a different pen at first. So that tells me that this is authentic. This is a little printout about one of his cars that he drove. I think it's the same one that we saw in the first picture. But that has a signature up at the top left. I believe that that one is authentic. This one is another printout, and the bottom one, the signature on this, looks like it is a photocopy onto a photocopy. And I only say that because it's going to be really hard to see this, but this is one of those old printing things where lines coming across left and right, kind of like the old TVs and stuff with the pixels. But you can see it in parts of the signature, so that tells me that this signature was signed on an actual photo, and then he photocopied that onto a different thing. So this isn't legit, because there's a second signature up here, and this one does have some contrast in the light, but again, it's not great surface material to base it off of, so I'm pretty sure that that one is legit. And then just kind of in the middle of everything, there was this photo, which is extremely pixelated. And I imagine it's just something he printed online or whatever, but it also looks like the back of a hero card, so I don't know exactly what this is supposed to be. But this would be Rick Crawford's signature, and then this would be an autograph of Todd Bodine. I don't know who's in the top car here, but I can't really tell if this is hand-signed or not. The ink doesn't look like it blends in with the background at all. It does seem like there is some difference, because again, it's a very difficult surface to determine that on, and these photos are very pixelated. But the signatures look really clear. They don't look boxy as if they were signed and then a photocopy of them. So I'm pretty sure that these two signatures as well are authentic. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling that they are. So that's a pretty cool extra. These two I feel really good about because he included some signed hero cards of Rick Crawford, and these are the legitimate ones. This isn't something that he photocopied. In the autograph, you can definitely see the difference, contrast in the ink. You can see where it flows, where it overlaps, where he does the pen lifts and everything. So these two I feel really good about, that these are legitimately hand signed, and it would make sense that his uncle has some like extra memorabilia of his nephew and has some of it signed and is just giving that away. That would make sense. So I say all that because the rest of this gets really confusing. Sorry, I just dropped a few things. So he sent these two trading cards, which are photocopies of originals and cut and then like laminated. So I saw this and I kind of opened it in a dark room, and at first glance it looks like it's autographed, but there's just something about it, like there's a dullness to the color. It doesn't really pick up any of the light any more than the card does, but it's also kind of hard to, really say that because of the laminate. But just really close look. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. It also kind of looks boxy, the autograph, kind of along the edges. It doesn't look like it flows very well. Like there's certain parts of it that are missing. And a bad printer or a bad photocopy would do that. It would limit the pixels that are available. So he sent 2 of those, which I don't believe that these are autographed. I think they were previously signed cards that were photocopied and then just made into their own trading card. Because then he included these 3 things that look like they're autographed by Rick Crawford's son, Adam Crawford. But he sent 2 that are different sizes, and it's the same autograph, same shape, same placement, but just different sizes. So that tells me right then and there that those aren't authentic. And then he includes this little postcard looking thing, which at first glance it might be signed, and given the material, maybe just a bad marker or something. But it doesn't reflect that well either, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's kind of some white space underneath some parts of the autograph, which tells me that when they did a photocopy of it, the camera or the printer or whatever couldn't detect like where the barrier was between, this color and this color, and so it didn't know how to fill in that pixel when trying to create a copy. You can kind of see it like around the logo as well that's superimposed on the picture, and some places around the car and everything like that. Just one of those weird older printer things, and people who maybe aren't as experienced with computers. So that one doesn't appear to be legit. And then I got versions of my photos back that I sent. But there's 2 things wrong with them, pretty much. One, they're not my photos. So sent a photo that looked just like this, but there is a autograph imposed on the photo, which it almost looks like it was digitally done. So they are capable of adding something digitally to instead of photocopying it. But that's not Rick Crawford's signature. That's Adam Crawford from this photo. So even if he was trying to do that just to be nice and be like, hey, here's an autograph on your photo, that's not even the right guy. But I don't know how old Buddy Bilarski is. I tried looking up his age because he is the uncle of Rick Crawford, and Crawford is in his 60s. So I would imagine that has to put Buddy at like 70 or 80. So it makes sense, if he made some mistakes or just doesn't really, understand how to use a computer, that's fine. And I'm super happy with him including extras and even his own autograph and whatnot. But it's just a very confusing return. I've never had anything like this before. But included a whole bunch of extra stuff. So if you guys are interested in getting something from Buddy, he might have some extra stuff of Rick and Adam that he can send you. But just know that some of it may not be authentic. So just be forewarned. But I wanted to show that to you guys because I didn't even recognize the name when I got the envelope. But he had taped my self-addressed stamped envelope onto a bigger one and paid for postage, and it was super thick. And I was like, what the heck is this? And it was all this stuff. But to bring it all back to Rick Crawford, he raced in NASCAR for quite a while. He had 5 wins in the Truck Series, and he had a runner-up finish in the championship one year. So he was a very good driver. Didn't do well at the Xfinity or the Cup Series level. He didn't last very long there, but was very accomplished in the lower series. But, like I said, he ended up being a convicted sex offender. Something about an underage girl always seems to work out that way. But he was sentenced to 10 years and 10 months in prison, I think in 2018. So, there's a chance that something could have been changed with his sentencing and whatnot. But I don't think that he is at home, and obviously, probably doesn't have his uncle come in to bring in autograph requests and whatnot. But the reason I sent to him before knowing all that was because someone else had gotten a success from the same address. They said that they got their photos signed and then received extras, And this person's been sending to a whole bunch of like lower series, you know, modified dirt racers and, you know, guys who maybe aren't super well known to NASCAR but have some sort of connection to it. So I felt pretty comfortable sending there, and this is what I got. And Buddy is more than happy to accept requests, I guess, and send some signed stuff back. But yeah, just all over the place with it. A very interesting return on this day. But I've already taken up 20 of your guys' minutes. Thank you guys for watching. If you watched it all the way through, you're awesome. But appreciate you guys watching. Helps me out a lot. Best luck with your guys' collecting. Take care.